out to be completely unreliable assholes.
Timothy. Is that the song that we kept hearing in the movie we just watched?
Yep.
I thought I recognized it.
You did, from Psycho.
Oh.
This is basically the same score.
Well, he got what he wanted, I guess.
Hell yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 51 of Dismembering Horror, the podcast show where myself, Ryan McDuffie,
and myself, Tim Aslin,
we dismember a horror film every Thursday. And what does that mean, to dismember a horror film? Well, we watch it, we talk about what worked, what did not work, and anything else we found interesting or noteworthy.
Yup.
And what else are we doing on this show, Tim?
Tangents.
Well, I like to think what I was getting at is that we're also on a personal and group hunt for horror.
Yeah, scary.
Yes.
And mission accomplished.
Yeah, we found some good ones.
So far, we've been... What would you say our success rate is, by and large?
I feel like 1 in 10.
Of like that are like amazing,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Maybe 1 in 12.
Okay.
Something like that,
yeah.
You know? But pretty good. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of... We thought horror was an achievable genre to tackle.
Well, and I would also say that I'd almost say the same rate for, like, unwatchable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a big chunk in the middle that's like, we were like, yeah, that was cool, but, you know, has stuff that could be better, but it wasn't unwatchable.
I wonder if that's unique to horror. Is it the most filled with the most mediocre quality films, you know?
That's a good question.
Maybe. Because, I mean, clearly a lot of what I'd deem mediocre is what most of them are. But it's all great because it's horror. That's what we're doing here. Regardless of horror, what we're doing here is because no matter how good or bad it is, that subjectively that we may think, it's fun to talk. I mean, it's fun to see portrayal of what you aren't supposed to be looking at, quote unquote. What are the choices they made for the kills? All that good stuff. What are the themes that percolate up, whether they knew it or not?
I think they, you know, in this one, he knew.
Right. And in this one is Sisters, a Brian DePalma film.
Yeah.
Which you had just recommended a Brian DePalma film.
Isn't that funny? And then I pulled it.
Yeah.
How freaky is that?
We've had a
couple
similar
of
incidences on the show.
Well, yeah. Was it this? I forgot to look. Was this his, like, this wasn't his first feature, right? He had done a couple before that.
Yeah, but I think this was
the one that kind of broke him out.
Yeah, this was the first one with even though it was still super low budget, it was the first one like with a budget is what I gathered from a ancillary listen glance
like
at some
what I was catching in my extensive research.
Actually, Tim, I think this episode more than any other episode, like, I feel very unprepared. Like, I was pretty lost watching the film.
Welcome to my world.
Even after reading the Wikipedia and reviews and everything, I still just feel a little
I think I know part of why that is.
Okay. Well, let's watch the trailer so then we can get into it.
Cool.
All right. So, from 72... But then also 73, I think 72 initial release. Anyway, whatever. Sisters.
Sisters. They were once one in body, and perhaps one in mind. Danielle and Dominique. One loving, one hating, one innocent, the other... Where does Danielle end and Dominique begin? What the devil hath joined together, let no man cut asunder.
That was it was like not even a trailer. It was a shorter... It was like a...
teaser.
Yeah. but still showed a lot, which is why I didn't want to say, I didn't feel necessarily teased. Only in length did I feel teased.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. It kind of showed the movie.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we have to rate this film, Tim. That's our next little portion of the show.
Okay.
We're gonna do our rating system of what we tell ourselves to avoid it, stream it, rent it, or buy it.
Well, I quite enjoyed it. I would rent it. I would rent it. If I was going to buy it, I'd just go buy Psycho. Which I did. Yeah,
me too. I quite enjoyed it too, despite my confusion. It's a very solid, good, hearty rent for me, and it's I can't say it's as far as, I've given things rents with the possibility of buy. I don't see it quite there. With sort of, I don't know, whatever, Quiet Dawn was maybe one. I don't know. There's other ones we've watched where I felt a lure or an intrigue or an attraction or a mystique that wasn't quite there for me on this viewing, but it was still watching it. I feel like this movie has a lot of it's an enthusiastic attempt at a movie. Mm-hmm. And you can kind of feel. What's more the way that has a bad connotation?
No, I don't. I don't mean it in a bad connotation. It feels like DePalma was really excited to make this movie. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm gonna do my Hitchcock."
Yeah. Well, he loved. Okay, so it was cool. I watched the 2018 interview with this was the star more than Margot Kidder, Jennifer Salt.
Yeah, I know.
She was saying, that she was really close friends with DePalma, and they were all friends together and kind of living all together in New York or whatever. And it sounded like he would get very enthused about. Well, he was huge Hitchcock fan, as that's how he was known of in their school or whatever. But he would get enthused by just the idea itself. He didn't sound like he was crazy actually about being in production on filmmaking.
Oh, that's interesting.
He just kind of was doing it because he became obsessed with the idea. And then it sounded like with a lot of his films, he thought each one would be his last almost because he didn't have more ideas. But then as soon as he'd finish one, another one came.
That's cool.
Sorry, that was to something you were saying, but I just kind of
his enthusiasm.
Yeah,
I get that. I feel like that's sort of the vibe I got from the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's and as she also described it as just at that level, which if you're us here, budding filmmakers, where it was very much not a family affair, but a friendly affair that felt like a family affair kind of thing.
Yeah, I get
all
that.
Very much just having fun together.
Right.
Friends helping each other out with a budget though for a first time. So
that makes a big difference.
Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. We both rent it. Yeah. And this is where you got to help me, Tim. The summary.
I'll do it. You ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Summary.
Staten Island, 1972.
Okay. I guess important for modern audiences. Yeah.
In the age of the game show, Dominique. No shit, I fucked up already. Wait,
it's Danielle.
Danielle is the main, right? So Danielle is an actress, model, trying to make her way in that career in New York, and she books a job on a TV show, like a game show, and through that she meets one of the contestants, sort of guy on it, and they go on a date, and they go back to her Staten Island apartment, and there's some caginess and some weirdness because she's got an ex-husband who's lurking around, and she mentions a sister. I'm not sure she calls her a twin yet, but it ends up being a twin sister. And it goes pretty well for that dude. They hook up. He sleeps over. He gets up. It's her birthday. He's
on their
excited.
Couch bed.
Yeah, on the couch bed. He's excited to sort of keep the dream alive and go get her a cake now that he's found out.
It's her sister's birthday.
Her sister's birthday, yeah. So now we know they're twins. And upon coming back...
After knocking he also went to buy pills. He knocked some
Yeah.
pills of hers down the drain by accident, so he was sent to buy
and
those.
she has a bit of a freak out about not having the pills, and then a stomach ache, and she passes out.
Oh, before. I was going to say she has a bit of a freak out.
And so when he comes back, he thinks she's asleep in the bed, and he presents the cake, and it turns out it's her twin sister who lashes out and stabs him multiple times and kills him. And this was all somewhat witnessed by a neighbor who's a reporter.
But what you mean is it's who we are supposed to think is the twin sister?
Yeah. I mean,
Because wasn't it the twist at one point that it is only one living person who's...
That's
which
correct.
one they
that
are is
is the big
indistinguishable.
twist.
Which
Correct.
I felt like I kind of was my presumption going into
Me too.
it for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think it was. It was not mind blowing. It wasn't like, oh,
Yeah.
she's a dude or something. You know, it wasn't
Right.
the crying game.
Yeah, or it wasn't like Basket Case, which I watched recently.
No. So yeah, I mean, I think it was telegraphed a little bit. Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because we've watched a million movies and we know that kind of thing is coming.
Yeah, when you hear them arguing and you don't see them, it's it's either they're freaky deaky or it's the same person.
Yeah. And so the actual story is kind of less about Danielle and Dominique, the quote unquote twins, and more about the reporter who witnesses the murder. So
I guess that's kind of Psycho-esque too, is the protagonist handoff.
Yeah. But it's got a lot of that rear window feel to it of like, oh, she saw a thing and then gets involved.
Oh,
She shouldn't be
directly the
involved,
looking
all
into the
that.
window. Looking into the window.
But the rest of the story is really a sort of a... It's not even really a whodunit so much as a like, how do we prove the truth? Mm-hmm. And the cops don't want the reporter involved, but she's like, fuck it, I'm going to get involved. And...
We're only swimming upstream. These cops do not like her.
Yeah, well, because she wrote a bunch of articles that were, not
flattering.
Not flattering, yeah. But probably true.
Yep.
So, and then through a series of, her detectiving around and, various little sort of plot jump to one thing to the next thing, she ends up being captured in the insane asylum on Staten Island.
An experimental insane asylum where everyone is allowed to roam free within the confines of the house.
And it's run by, we find out, surprise, the husband of Danielle, who is a doctor there.
Yeah. What's his name?
I don't know. George or Bob or something like that, isn't it?
William.
Philip.
Emil.
Oh yeah, Emil.
I was gonna say like Dieter or something.
Yeah. He's just the dorkiest dude ever with the thickest glasses.
All right, I won't save this for things of note, but Roger Ebert described Emil's character as there's this mysterious stranger, Bill Finley, who looks like an extraterrestrial crossed with a Cold War spy.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Whenever you'd come on screen, Tim, you were just like, this guy.
This fucking guy.
Yeah.
Look at that face and that mustache and that bruise on his
William
forehead.
Finley, yeah. Okay, that's what happens in the movie.
Yeah, that's sort of what happens. And then I think, like you said, the twist isn't really that it's like, okay. Yeah.
But it's more about things getting all weird, trippy dippy at the end because you have is now our protagonist, Jennifer Salt, as Grace Collier, the detective, the freelance journalist. No, she's not freelance. She's just a journalist.
Yeah. Investigative reporter.
Yeah. When you have her like at this what do you call it? Home psych.
Oh yeah.
What do you call it?
Yeah. What do you call that?
Mental institution.
Sure.
She's like having these visions of plugging into the consciousness of the Siamese twins.
Yeah, and there's Emil has, I guess, hypnotized and drugged her.
Yeah,
because he does a whole thing of like repeating a phrase and convincing her that there was no murder, she didn't see any murder, and it's completely ridiculous, and there's no body.
Yeah.
So she gets that he, hypnosis is her.
He puts that in her.
And then, this whole, like, she's laying next to Danielle and, like, it's so strange because she's reliving the past and, like, seeing herself in the place of Dominique, the dead twin.
I just wanted to mention in
like
brief that was going on, just as far as the color and the flavor of the last act. But we'll talk about that scene more. Yeah,
and then ultimately, how does she get away? I forget.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Danielle switches over to the Dominique sort of side of her personality now and kills Emile.
Yep. Gets out of there. Okay, so my only clarifying question, even though I probably thought I had more, were we to assume at the time that her not taking the pills because they were knocked down the drain? This is what I was going to be. I read it as that is what caused her to stab him, but then I thought, oh wait, no, that we are supposed to think that is the twin. I was confused at what we were supposed to be, but
so I think it's the
pills going down the drain. Explain that.
So my take on it is that the pills that Danielle has been told by Emile, her husband, who's also her doctor, that she has to take those pills for some other reason. And that's never really stated what that reason is. And I don't even think she necessarily knows. She just knows she has to take them because she has an episode and probably loses time or whatever.
But in the end is what that is her turning into Danielle.
So yeah, I think that the pills are in actuality just a psycho, what do you call that? A drug to keep her psychosis at bay.
The Danielle psychosis.
The Dominique psychosis.
The Dominique psychosis.
It's some sort of anti-psychosis medication.
Got it.
And she may not know that, but it's never really clarified. Right. But my take was that, Emile gave her those. That's the drug that he told her to keep her
essentially
sane.
No time had passed though when she didn't take the pills or she took a couple pills and then she was talking to Dominique, but also was actually talking to herself.
Yeah, it's pretty thin.
See, you can see why I was very
definitely
confused.
No, I just I jumped to my own sort of like justification of it.
Okay.
But yeah, because logically speaking, this is essentially a thing that didn't work, but you would say, okay, she just took 2 and she had 2 left and she, what is she taking them every 15 minutes?
Right. Or was she supposed to take all 4?
Right.
Okay, let's
just get into it.
All right, what worked?
What worked for you? What worked for you?
It worked like a charm, Smith.
What worked for you?
So, I don't know. I just like the vibe of it, the 70s vibe, and the sort of, all of the characters are really, they're quite compelling and interesting to me. I like everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the main guy who gets killed, pretty early on, Psycho.
I think his name is Philip.
Yeah, Philip.
He's cool.
He's really relatable, likable, when he's bringing that birthday cake to him.
They do a really smart thing, too, because the whole premise of the setup of this game show is what, that they've set him up in this locker room. He's sort of a contestant. And he's in a locker room where one of the walls, the barrier between the men's and the women's locker room is actually there. Maybe there was a plaster sheet or something that hasn't been put up, it's under construction. So you can see into the other locker room. And a blind, quote unquote, blind woman comes in and starts undressing. And the game show is the other contestants on the game show have to choose what he's going to do. Is he going to stare at the woman and just say nothing and let her get undressed and be a peeping Tom, because that's the game show, is called Peeping Tom? Is he going to say nothing, turn away and just leave and be sort of a gentleman about it? Or is he going to actually say something and potentially embarrass the blind woman? And by having him choose the gentlemanly one of not saying anything, turning away, and just leaving, we've now established that he's a good dude.
Right.
Right? And so we're cool with him going on a date. And then they double down on him being a good dude when Emile shows up at the restaurant and
he protects her from this crazy
and then they
ex-husband.
triple down on him being a good dude when he finds out that she's a little like she's got a couple nuts maybe loose. She's acting a little odd, and he's like, "No, it's totally cool. I'm gonna go. Like, I'll help you out. I'll get your medication, but I'm also gonna buy you a cake because I'm a good dude."
And for your sister, who I haven't even met.
Yeah, exactly. He includes her. So they're
I
like
know what he's thinking.
Everybody's got an agenda, but he's a good dude. He's got really good intentions.
And so
when he gets knifed in the groin initially, I was bummed. I was like, "Oh, poor Philip."
And it was, I mean, I guess much like the original Psycho, it happened way earlier than the halfway point too. You're like, "Oh, where are we going? This isn't where I thought we were going." You sit
definitely.
up.
Which is cool. I mean, his death is a pretty fucking intense death.
Yeah.
Even with the 70s blood,
Well, and he has they cover up his death in a way that I really liked, which is and I think on par with the intensity of his death is the intensity of like hiding a body in a couch and having this like cross country trip for it planned.
That's awesome. But dude, the knife in the groin and then the knife in the mouth.
Right.
Oh,
when you see that cut in him, oh man.
That was super intense.
And it's just enough. It's like so much in shadow, but then you have these inserts of
floppy skin,
which is cool. It kind of feels like the 70s step up from literally not showing anything in Psycho as far as cut skin.
There's definitely a Argento-y sort of vibe too to that.
Yeah.
It's just that era they're using sort of like that. I don't know what you even call it.
I liked it. I like that.
It's cool.
And
I like the whole death. It's a little, I thought it was a little drawn out to him getting to the window and everything, but like to good effect.
Right. And then so just to keep going down the list of characters and the actors portraying them and how they're good. I mean, Margot Kidder as Danielle and Dominique, who I don't know within that first half if we're ever actually seeing Dominique or not, aside from when he gets stabbed.
The stab, yeah.
Okay. Was their hair different or something?
Yeah, it was like in her face.
I don't know. Anyway, I thought she was great as just, like, you wouldn't know that was, I mean, maybe because I don't have an ear for these things, but pretty good accent, I thought. Okay.
Maybe.
She was great at playing this kind of, I don't know, having a seductive French allure, even if that's very stereotypical. Like,
no, I think
she was a great counterpoint to then the Grace, the journalist character.
Yeah, she didn't seem how do I put this? Like, she seemed self-assured.
Yeah.
She wasn't like oh, I can't do it.
No, she's like, oh no, this is why I have two of the same dress. Right.
Yeah. I mean, she does quite a good job of manipulating once she knows she fucked up.
Yeah.
So it's sort
Dealing
of like
with the police.
It's showing that it's showing that she has skills. She's not just a wannabe.
Yeah. No.
She's actually, they actually kind of call it like, she says, "Well, I'm an actress. I have to have two of everything or whatever." She comes up with that really fast. And then, what's her name? Grace calls her out and she's like, "I bet you are." It's like, yeah, she is. She's acting right now. And Grace knows it, but like, it's good enough to convince everybody else in the room.
Yeah. Right. I was just trying to pinpoint more. I'm just trying to think more I thought what made her performance so compelling. And I think it was this element of, you just at the whatever of drop of a dime, all of a sudden, this feeling of she could be unhinged at any moment, in a kind that was really, I don't know, got to you in a way to see her acting out.
Yeah, I don't know. I know what you mean. I'm not sure what do you call that?
Yeah.
There's got to be a word for that. But we're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah.
I guess. And she's really good at kind of like almost winking at it.
Here's, I don't know, maybe from, even if like when we're first meeting her and even when he finds out like she's a little whatever, like she still seems almost kind of too good to be true, I feel like is how the movie's trying to present her to us.
Well, it's, yeah. I think it's because we're being given these kind of open-ended questions of like, from Philip's point of view, if you met a girl that you were into...
You mean Lyles?
No.
Oh, yeah, Philip, sorry.
Yeah, so the
Lyle,
first guy.
Sorry. Philip.
So from his point of view, you know, he meets this girl and he's like, you know, she's cool and we were on the show together and she basically asked him if she could join him for dinner. And he's like, fuck, sweet.
Yeah.
Like, this attractive woman wants to have dinner with me. That, hell yeah. And then they hit it off and that's all going well. But there's all these it's just red flag central.
Yeah.
Her ex-husband, like, tries to drag her out of a restaurant. Like, that's a huge red flag. Like, she's got stuff going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he sort of stands up for her, and that's great. But, like, I think a lot of people would see that red flag and kind of go, I'm gonna step out of the room slowly.
I think I connected with him, and then this is why I'm trying to articulate like how I'm then viewing her, but where I'm always one to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like, that's the only reason why, you know, that red flag didn't cause further action on his part.
I totally agree. I think even this, I think everybody has experienced essentially this kind of setup. You meet somebody, you're excited to like somebody, and despite some red flags, you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and the next thing you know, you're getting your balls stabbed.
Is that why you only have one ball left, Tim?
But I mean, everybody's had that experience to some degree, men or women. It doesn't matter. Like we've all overlooked a couple red flags in the name of like, maybe this will be cool.
So you meant so to speak, yeah.
Yeah, metaphorically.
Okay.
So, you know, I think that the universal sort of relatability of that opening is great, but it still leaves us with these open-ended questions of like, well, wait, is there a sister? And then, so once we finish that death, that whole, I don't even remember like how far into the movie do you think we are? A half hour?
Yeah, probably about that.
The whole rest of the movie is a new movie.
Yeah.
But it's smart. I think this is a cool setup because all of those things are putting us in this frame of mind that essentially Philip was in, you know, and then we have to sort of deal with the consequences of that, which are essentially all these questions we now have. That's when we meet Grace, and she's tasked with answering all those questions. Like she wants to answer the questions for us, the audience.
And
I
Grace.
think that's cool.
Now on to Grace.
Yeah. I love Grace.
Yeah, me too. Like from the get-go, she's just, we're with her when we see the murder, so it's already, we're on her side.
Yeah. And she's no bullshit. She's just like, fuck all this. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
I love that.
Relatable, I think, with her and her mother, relationship with her mother.
Man, that scene, I remember thinking, it was starting to get long, and I was like, what are we doing? But it comes right around. Like, it works, because I don't know.
Which scene?
The car scene of her mom just chattering away. Mm-hmm. And it got to a point where Grace has basically said nothing. She's just looking out the window. And I was like, oh my God, how long is this going to go on for? Which is right, because that's essentially what Grace is feeling.
Yeah.
And we just get it's just enough nice little sort of character building in that one scene of like, her mom's overbearing. Nobody seems to respect the fact that she has a career as a journalist.
God, I know.
You know, like that.
These cops, like we're just so on her side when she is having to do all the work.
Everything from her mom's point of view is about finding a man.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, fucking kill me.
And even the cops is like, don't ruffle any feathers.
She's 25, by the way.
Right.
That really threw me. You gotta find a man. You're 25. You're getting old. You're gonna be an old maid. It's like, Jesus Christ. I don't even remember being 25. I mean, I was probably drunk, so whatever.
Maybe you were solving murders.
I was ignoring red flags is what I was doing.
Right. Getting knives held up to your testicles, apparently.
Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, what else to say about her? I don't know. It's I guess nothing much. But...
She's forward thinking, she's forward moving, she's no bullshit, she's empowered, she's all of these they're really good characteristics.
Seeing in a film that, was early 70s just felt especially like, oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's sort of in the same way that Hitchcock and Martin are doing the same thing, where it's like, or not Martin, sorry, Romero.
It's like
Martin Short. No, Romero are doing kind of the same things, right? They're being fairly progressive about how they depict women, and or people of color, which is great.
This would be a good compendium to Martin. They're both very. Showing the quote unquote women's lib movement in the cedar of the heart of the 70s, the early 70s, sort of the waning 60s, late 60s era.
I think it's nice to sort of be reminded that even though we at times feel definitely progress sort of takes a step forward and a couple steps back, and that continues on. But it's nice to have references of then. When we think, oh God, it must have been awful then. Yeah, it was. But there were still people who were aware of it and speaking out about it. Yeah. And that's great. That's nice to know. They laid the foundation for how we look at things now.
Right. And you get the sense that the filmmakers are included in that.
Yeah, totally. So I like all that. I like Charles Durning. I can't remember how you say his name.
The private eye guy?
I just like their little back and forth.
They have a fun rapport.
I almost wish he was in it more.
Yeah, he was in it just a little. Yeah, he was kind of an in-between how much he was in it.
Yeah. It's because they couldn't afford him for more than a day.
Oh, yeah, you were saying he's a known actor.
Yeah, I mean, he probably was like, yeah, I'll do this, but you got me for Saturday.
Yeah, it's gotta do. Shoot out Charles.
So...
I loved. Well, we got to talk about this. Let's go back to the murder scene.
Sure. The first one?
Yes. Yeah. The split screen.
Okay.
Tim just great. I think Tim wants to talk about that in the other section. I liked it, Tim. So we're going to talk about
glad you did.
And what worked for me.
Go on.
I thought it was a novel, intense way to show the moment where her and the cops are just about to catch the creepy guy leaving with the bags after the murder. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a fun, tense way to show that. And then I thought it was an interesting way to show the actual murder itself. I don't know, just to see it from... Because remember his hands going up on the window, and that's essentially seeing the murder.
Right, yeah.
And he's trying to call for help, and that's when Grace sees him. And seeing the murder that was done from that 2-shot perspective. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't have any real big thesis for why it's a good thing. Which I feel like I normally do. I was just oh, cool.
Yeah, I get that.
All right. Well, how about the I don't know. As far as maybe then more Hitchcockian kind of turns and moments and twists.
Hide the body. Yeah, so good.
The hiding the body in the couch. I think my favorite in that whole thing, though, coming and looking for it. But my favorite in the whole thing was toward the end of that sequence when there's what we consider a bit of evidence on the birthday cake as far as the names that are on it. That's, she does have a sister. And then she drops it right in front of the cops and it's completely ruined and they can't see it. I loved that moment.
Yeah, that's fun. I really like the cleanup and sort of the missing the one spot of blood thing, although it didn't really come around.
No, they should have showed them missing it, which they kind of did.
Well, and there was ultimately it doesn't they don't get caught because of it.
Right. We're talking about there's a spot of blood on the back of the couch.
Right.
It's the only thing they miss after.
And Charles Durning's character walks right by it.
Yeah.
And so my presumption was when he came out, and he had stolen the file with all of the info about the twins, that he was going to be and also I think it might have even been in the script because he makes the conclusion. He's the body's in the couch. He's like, it's in the couch.
Yeah.
But his justification in the movie script, what we hear is he's I tried to lift it and it's way too heavy.
Yeah.
That's not a good enough. Like, he could have been like, there's blood on the back of the couch, therefore
that's true.
Looked under the cushion and there's more, you know what I mean?
There
like,
was just something
it
kind
didn't
of
quite connect.
It just made him feel smart and like a good private investigator, just to sort of pick up on that detail of the weight of it.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's a trundle bed, so it could just be heavy.
Yeah, those things are fucking heavy.
Yeah.
I once had one of, I had one in New York City, and I don't know how we got it up to the 3rd floor of this walk up on 42nd Street, but we did. And when I moved out of there, I had to get it out by myself. And I ended up unscrewing the metal component of the bed from the frame of the couch. But I had to carry that metal frame, which is, you know, it's like lots of hinges and it's heavy and awkward and whatever. I had to try and carry it down the stairs, and the whole thing ended up closing on my hand. Oh. And like, I still have this like weird gnarly scar on kind of the back of my, I don't know, it's sort of my wrist, I guess. Just from that. And that was like 15 years ago. So, yeah, I've had experience. And then I just left it on the curb.
So you like this private eye, you know, you just have a lived a world of experience.
We know all about trundle beds.
Yeah. He knew that even for a trundle bed, it was too heavy.
Yeah, so that, you know, that whole sequence is very, it's directly pulled from Rear Window of him like sneaking in and then them showing up.
Them kind of making hand gestures to each other. Oh, look in there. Oh, I got it.
And the solve of that, we never really see.
Yeah.
He's like, don't worry. I convinced them it was cool that I was in there.
Right. His window washer ploy seemed to work.
I thought he was going to have to jump out of the window or something.
Right. But he just opened the window to show her some files that he didn't even know what they were.
Yeah.
Just to say, look what I got.
Yeah, but so I guess this is all to sort of say the sequence and the pacing and the sort of intrigue of those scenes all works, even regardless of the sort of a little bit of lack of logic or like ultimate threads.
Clarity.
Yeah, the threads are a little like,
Yeah.
It still feels good because it's got that kind of Hitchcockian pacing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh shit, that's going to happen and we know and we're going to watch it and we're like, you know, probably going to get out of there, but maybe not.
All right. Anything else before we get to the mental institution?
God, what happens? She gets that. Oh, so she goes to the Time Life building and talks to the guy there. Mm-hmm. That actor I like, he was, I forget, he was the dude in Tron. He's awesome. The old man in Tron. I guess just the aesthetic of the footage that they watch is very, I just find...
Oh, the videotape he shows him?
Yes.
Her?
That docu-style 70s, like, I don't know if anybody's seen this, but Geraldo did the expose on man, I don't remember if it was right before this. I'd have to look it up. But the actual footage from Geraldo's expose on the New York insane asylum and the conditions in it is one of the most fucked up and like eerie, scary, unsettling, upsetting pieces of footage out there. It is literally why, like, the way they shot that, or the way now we shoot scary in the dark with a single like light on the camera, like found footage style, it's literally matching this Geraldo footage because there was like no power in the fucking insane asylum. It's just kids and people with whatever.
So you're saying affliction. The video in this movie was like that?
It has that same feel, yeah. And it's that shit's always kind of eerie and creepy. Like asylums in general, the kind of
right. Yeah, and what the video you're talking about is, just to clarify, is there was the story, the sort of mini documentary expose that this other reporter had done on the Siamese twins.
Yeah. And
that was neat. That did work for me, like learning about their history, seeing like the two Margot Kidders, you know, joined at the hip, literally. That was cool.
Yeah. Willowbrook is the name of the
How sinister sounding, right?
Of the institution, the
Willowbrook.
real life one.
Yeah.
I'll get to it. That'll be my recommendation, honestly, because that shit is fucking
So yeah,
crazy.
anything else before?
I think that's it. All of that was working for me. Margot Kidder, kind of what you said, like her performance, there's the slyness of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well
The
then,
music,
the music.
I think, almost goes without saying. It's Bernard Herrmann.
And again, I said anything else before we talk about the last
Yeah.
part of the film, not before we get to the next
Gotcha.
section.
Yeah, so no, go for it.
The mental institution.
So, yes, getting there.
Yes.
The drive to the institution, the car following the other car, that sequence with the score,
Right.
it's just psycho, but it's so good. It's so
Right.
satisfying. It's like fucking awesome.
That was great. And then after, so the institute had been built up earlier in the film. It had been mentioned. So when we get there, it has this allure to it. But God, first we have, remember the guy, I loved the guy trimming the hedges outside.
It's so good.
And he gives like one final just kind of like trim to the air after she goes inside. But then it was, what a perfect intro to have this. She's all this, that she's our hero here. Grace is trying to do is use the phone.
Yeah.
And we have this first woman.
She's so brazen. I love it.
Yeah.
She's just running up the driveway.
Right? Well, hey, it works up till when she asks to use the phone, and there's a woman who is a member there who's just screaming about the germs coming through the phone.
Dude,
It was incredible, Tim.
I love that.
Yeah.
I fucking love that. It danced really, really close on this line of almost, not offensive, but it felt like we were almost at like exploitative, sort of like we're not poking fun,
felt
but
super dark humor. You know?
Yeah, where it's like, fuck, there are people who are really in like a bad place and are suffering,
Right.
But also,
It feels like the filmmakers are
kind of real.
Well, the filmmakers,
was
it feels like they're trying to push it just a little further than even they'd think it would. As intense as real life, as it is, it felt like they were just trying to heighten it or twist it or make it that much more idiosyncratic, like just in that little way, which, again, when I'm saying it out loud, makes it feels like, well, that just brings it even closer to being real. But there was something just left of center that they were how they were portraying it.
Well, it never. I think it's the type of thing that you can fall into almost a parody or caricature really easily, and it just stayed right on the other side of that in the best way, where it's like it could have been laughable and offensive for its laughability if it went there, and it didn't. I felt like, okay.
Yeah, you felt the intensity still. You felt threatened by the intensity.
So that whoever that woman was who gave that performance, I don't actually know. But
so then, toward the end of that little moment was my favorite part of the whole movie.
The best part of the whole movie.
Yeah, when she gets trapped there, when she gets taken by the doctors. You are the sane person going into this place. Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
And then all of a sudden...
You're so fucked.
Yeah. Do you want to describe what we're talking about? What happens?
This is like a personal nightmare, because I've
say what this is. What are we talking about?
I've known people to experience something sort of like this. It's you've gone in as a sane, rational person to expose somebody, and that somebody uses the environment or the context of where you are and says, you're insane. And because of the fact that you are there in the insane, like in this location, and the person who's saying that is an authority figure, all of the underlings will buy his bullshit over yours. And nothing you say makes you seem not crazy.
Yep.
That is so scary to me.
Me too. To not be believed.
We've talked about this sort of thing before, where it's like when somebody accuses you of something that you know you haven't done, but like, how do you defend yourself?
That's like my biggest kind of fear point is to like not being able to convince someone,
because if you throw a fit,
that you're telling the truth,
you seem totally unhinged.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't throw a fit, what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, what can you do? Nothing.
Right.
Fucking nothing.
Like
the helplessness of that is so fucked.
They're gonna physically attack you back. Like if you try to defend yourself,
and then
like,
they're gonna just fucking sedate you and then strap you down to a bed.
that comes back down to the sedating, Tim. He shot me. He shot me. From Martin.
Yeah. Oh my God. That is such a fucking awesome fear point.
Yeah, and it's society. The getting needled.
Yeah.
This is something so just depriving you of your free will and just so controlling.
And not and when you have no defense to your own, to just having an actual conversation, they've already what's the term? They've already decided something that you have no control over it. Like you can't even have a conversation and be like, hang on, let's back up a second. Because even in saying that, they've decided.
It all looks the same to them.
Oh man.
I know, that was the part of the film where it's just like, oh God, oh, no, this is happening.
Yeah.
Best horror moment.
I wondered at the time, I was like, is this the right place for this in the sort of timeline or structurally of the whole movie? But I think it is because we get that first act without Grace. Mm-hmm. If we had Grace in the first act, I think this moment would have had to have come earlier, like midpoint. Mm-hmm. But it's essentially I guess it's the end of the second act, really. Yeah,
it's interesting to sort of observe the unique plotting in this and how they what was unique about the structure to make it work.
It does make me think that he was watching more foreign stuff and like Argento stuff. And I mean, Hitchcock is kind of leans a little bit more in that other structural sort of European structure.
I don't know, it just feels like he was just watching Hitchcock to me.
That's certainly true.
No, not to say that it's an exact replica, but because it is clearly set in the 70s with a 70s filmmaker.
But it's an unapologetic homage to Hitchcock.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So, yeah. That shit was awesome. I mean, and then, so then we get into her being confined.
Right. So then it's what we started bringing up, what we talked about earlier, which I don't know what else there's to say about it, but the
dream sequency,
hallucination / flashback / transformed consciousness. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's a really cool device. Well, I mean, even in spite of the going in and out of the eyeball multiple times.
I was going to say...
Which just tickled me.
I loved that. I loved going in and out of the eyeball. And then it used the kind of... felt like the being John Malkovich get out like iris around blackness to sort of come in and out of this other consciousness.
I mean, I thought it was
black and white,
kitschy to do it as many times as it did.
I thought it was...
But by the third time it happened, I was like kind of into it.
Yeah, exactly. For me, it was just like, I don't know.
It's like they could have done it once and they did it 3 times, which worked. If they had done it twice, it wouldn't have worked. You know what I mean?
With weird hallucinogenic flashback dream sequency things, I like it when they sort of push it girth-wise to like where they did in this, where it happens, where, I don't know, it's a good chunk of the movie, it sort of puts you in an interesting place.
And I think that the conceit almost, or the device that he's applying is there's a purpose to come back out of the eyeball into the room that she's actually in. Mm-hmm. And I think what it is, and this wasn't entirely clear, but my takeaway was that the doctor, Emile, he's sort of having a recap conversation almost in the hypnosis style with Danielle. And so Grace is hearing that conversation, and she's hearing Danielle's side of it, explaining Danielle's memories of all of this. So it's this sort of like, like Emile would be like, remember the time that you and your sister were this, and then Danielle would say, yeah, and we were this, and this is how I felt, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. That's not explicitly happening, but it's sort of implied that that's what's happening, and the result of that happening for Grace is this hallucination into her mind and then seeing herself in the place of Dominique.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were trying to get across. Ultimately, I'm not sure it fucking mattered. Whether they didn't need to, I don't think they needed to lean on that even at all, really. We could have just seen this weird hallucination without
You mean
any sort of
leaning on them being in the same room and having those what he's saying out loud to her?
Yeah, I'm not sure that it was necessary.
I don't know. I think it plays
fine.
I think it plays into the doctor's hypnosis angle and sort of controlling and what would you call that? Yeah, mental subterfuge.
Sure.
Inceptioning.
Yeah. But like, even insofar as the efficacy of that sequence, it was still kind of vague as to what we were going to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's he trying to... Is he trying to convince Danielle that Grace is now Dominique?
Yeah.
That's what he's trying... But that... So that... Okay, I think actually this makes sense now. So he's trying to get Danielle, he's hypnotizing her to now believe that Dominique exists and is not dead.
Yes.
And is Grace, so that Danielle can shed herself from the Dominique personality that is always pushing to get out.
Because was it the ending as far as Danielle, Dominique's point of view? It was that Danielle now... Yeah, it's Danielle thinking that Dominique is dead.
And the reason the problem, so the character problem that Danielle has is the psychosis, essentially, is that because Dominique died and because they had such a specific connection, like they were physically connected, but, you know, through that they were mentally connected, that Danielle could not deal with the death of her sister. Mm-hmm. She couldn't cope with that. And so she split her mind and created the Danielle personality to cope with the death.
Right.
Or the denial of the death. And so the doctor is trying to detach the Dominique personality from her mind by putting it essentially, or making Danielle believe that it's now in this other person.
Right. After
and
literally
not even in it, but that that Dominique exists now, and so Danielle no longer needs to have the split personality.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And he's the same one who literally took a hatchet to them.
That scene is awesome too.
I just wanted to touch on the flashback scenes, how they looked and felt themselves. It was like these black and white. We're supposed to assume it's maybe early 60s, 50s kind of thing. So it has this, or even if it's not that, it
5 years.
But it feels like a Frankenstein movie or something.
That's
almost.
true. Yeah,
like it
does
has
kinda.
Almost this imaginary quality to it, while at the same time, oh no, this is probably how it would look. But I don't know, something about it felt like a little like horror movie within a horror movie to me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I just think that whole dream suite sequences are amazing. Mm-hmm. And I think it's oh shit, what's the famous dream sequence? It might be Marnie. There's a little touch of Marnie in this. Marnie is sort of like, I don't remember it that well, but it's the one with Sean Connery and Tippi Hedren, and she...
I haven't seen it.
It's weird. It's cool. Actually, that's a good one to watch too for everybody. If you haven't seen Marnie, go watch it. But she's got some mental sort of psychosis stuff going on, and she gets kind of swindled into marrying Sean Connery by Sean Connery. It's this sort of double whatever you call that, double crossy type thing. But it might not be Marnie, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's an amazing dream sequence in one of Hitchcock's movies, and I'm not sure which one. That's even more. It's like Dali worked on it, like Salvador Dali, and so this didn't go there, but like it still has that weird, dreamy, ethereal, like what the fuck,
super
and like
wide angle lenses.
Yeah, and like the cast of people that are in the the surgical observation room are really fucking cool and weird and just creepy as fuck. All of that I love.
And then attached to that is just Grace's, well, then to the actual ending, or if that's the climax.
Yeah.
Well, then there's 2 little scenes after that. So then we have where Grace, we're like thinking, oh, great, we got Grace back to normal. The mom's there. But no, she still has been affected by the hypnosis. She's just repeating when they're trying to ask her. She knows about the murder. There was no body because there was no murder, which is exactly what the doctor programmed her to think and say. So, God,
That's... Well, you know what I love about that is that Grace is so deeply hypnotized that she doesn't understand what the issue is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the scary thing about it. It feels like it's beyond just, oh, when you hear this noise, you're gonna squawk like a chicken. It's like you're concerning this whole large thing. We're completely changing your reality and regarding it. It's just so deep and sinister, and I don't know. It gets into that stuff of that very human fear of not knowing what's real or not kind of thing, and how you never really can, no matter what, in the end, because we're brains in a jar.
Dude, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is all kind of to wrap a bow around this. The thing that works the best for me in this movie is really kind of the story trajectory and ideas, because there's like little things here and there, and like like we said, some of the threads don't seem quite like they're connecting or whatever, but like the broader story is so fucking good.
Yeah.
So good job, Brian.
Great. Now let's see what did not work.
It's not ready yet.
Seems to work okay.
No, something important's missing.
What did not work?
Well, Tim, I know.
All right.
you had something.
Look, all I'm saying is, it's not serving. Okay, I'll ask you. Do you feel like the split screen is actually serving the movie in that scene?
Right, and there now, maybe that's what I said I was having trouble actually articulating, beyond just, oh, I just liked it,
And I think that's totally valid to just like it.
But, no, that's what I mean when I say I feel like I could find a way to say that, yes, it actually helped it.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think of what that is. Why wasn't it adding anything?
I find it distracting partially. Mm-hmm. But also, I just think it's no better than just cutting back and forth.
I think when the murder itself is happening and it's the shot of him outside and inside, I tend to agree with you more. But when it's
around the corners thing?
When it's rounding the corners in the apartment, there's something unique to showing at the same time where, just like what a long take, because long takes do allow you something that cutting takes away. So I think to sort of sustain the suspense and a sense of place, that one did add something. There you go.
I get it. I think from a taste point of view, what I don't like about it is that I like feeling like I'm in a real place, and it breaks that right up front. Like, it's just like, just
it's
kidding.
It's too much like you're in a movie.
Yeah. I think it's too much of a kind of kitschy device.
Yeah.
It's like, remember, well, you may not, Ang Lee's Hulk.
Nope.
Actually, like...
Didn't they have comic book panels?
Yes, and it is horrible. But it's like, I've seen, DePalma is sort of famous for using the
does that in Carrie. It's cool.
The split screen, both foreground and background are in focus.
The split diopter.
Yeah, that thing. Whatever you call it. Diopter? Mm-hmm. Something like that, right? And I don't like that either. I always am like, mm-hmm. Like, that's not how things look in real life.
Yeah, but no, I don't know.
I know. It's like too much for me. If you ratcheted it back just a little bit, I'd be fine with it. But he pushes it to this almost what would you call it? It's like it's too almost avant-garde.
Would it have to be like it's more that sort of whatever amount of experimentalness or just realistic, whatever is the thing that takes you out of it? Does that just need to be imbued from the get-go in the sort of blood of the film that much more? Because yes. It needs to be Scott Pilgrim,
yes,
is there
exactly.
every step of the way.
And I think, and also because it's used those 2 times in the same act and then never again.
Mm-hmm. Like if it had opened, well, I mean, the opening's so weird, but like I'm just trying to think like, yeah, you are showing each main character in their own screen somehow, and then they intersect. Then we're kind of ready for that. Then that's the reality of the movie. Then maybe you can accept it later that much more because it did come out of nowhere.
Yeah, I also am a little like prone to just not liking devices that don't have sort of like almost a story connection to them. They're just it's just an arbitrary device. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, this will be cool. And there's a limit to my acceptance of that kind of thing. Like you can kind of get away with it to certain degrees, but for me, ultimately, a lot of time I'm like,
I'm thinking about it a little more. And even when I said what I did like about it for when it's him when he's at the window and then the split screen cuts in and she's seeing the hand against the window from the outside, you're with this man when he's dying, so to cut away from him, you do lose a little impact of just sort of the stress of the moment of trying to call for help in a way. So I don't know, but and then we need the information of she is seeing it though at the same time. We need to also be with her. So I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I wish it was more kind of just you do see it more nowadays. I don't know.
For me, I think ultimately my taste would prefer you could kind of potentially accomplish a very similar thing, and I think Spielberg is quite good at this, by using reflection or mirror instead. And so you are getting to see more of what's going on, but you're not breaking kind of the fourth wall or whatever you're breaking by adding this device. And those things are more pleasing to me when it's that version. That's kind
right, because this is a reminder to our audience what worked and what did not work for us. That's the only way we can approach it. Because I
think there are people who are like, fuck yeah,
it's the coolest thing. Because it could be a matter too. Like imagine if from early filmmaking onwards, this could just be a much more accepted device.
That's true.
You would just have a different relationship to it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's see, what else?
I didn't really have anything. I was just like, I don't know, man. I just wasn't as wowed as but I can't even really say why. I really enjoyed it all. I thought it was super cool. I loved everything we said about performances, a little Hitchcockian moments of twists and moments.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to buy it. I don't really feel like need to recommend it. Even though this film was recommended to me by a friend.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad I've seen it now. I've really wanted to see it. I'm glad I did.
Oh, yeah. I think that it's a very fine line for me, the line of homage to like derivativeness. Like, and obviously he wasn't like secret about, it's not some secret that he's paying homage to Hitchcock. It's very out front. So it's fine. But kind of like I said about not wanting to buy it, like I did buy Psycho because Psycho is amazing, and I won't buy this because it's not Psycho, but it's trying to be Psycho. And so
for
are
me,
you
a fan of his later films or just
DePalma?
Yeah, or is this just too close to it? Because
maybe.
I don't know.
I'm not sure how I feel about DePalma overall. I think he's very, for me, it's like every other DePalma movie I watch, I'm like, oh shit, no wait, he is good.
He's his own filmmaker.
Like,
that's just all I meant.
Yeah.
Like I get this one maybe especially kind of close, wearing all that on its sleeve, the Psycho connection, the Hitchcock connection. But it's still like really much its own movie. Like this is maybe more thing of note, but it feels like there's like Cronenberg in there too, and that sort of Canadian offbeat 70s, like borderline sci-fi, psychokinetic, stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's got enough other just sort of like flavors in it that it doesn't feel, oh no, why I'm just going to watch Psycho instead of this. They're very different to me yet at the same time.
Yeah. I don't know what it is exactly. I felt a little manipulated by Margot Kidder not really being the main character.
Yeah. But not in a good way.
Exactly. Where I was like, wait, is she going to have this accent the whole time?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? So that was the other thing I was going to say, because I made
Margot
a face
Kidder's accent.
when you brought it up that you thought it was okay.
Again, not an authority. I can see, again, I'm too trustworthy, Tim.
It took me so long as she was talking until they finally said she was French. I was like, ooh, okay, that's
You just do
French?
your Pepe Le Pew impression.
That's
I'm
right.
going to say, oh, you're from Paris.
Yeah, I just thought it was inconsistent, and I don't ultimately care. But there was a moment of me being like, what is this? Like, what is she doing?
Do you have anything else hard for what did not work, or?
No.
All right, let's do things of note.
Okay.
Things of note!
This should be interesting.
Okay, like I just said, Cronenberg connection. What? So this, I'm not asking it in like the story sense, but what was the deal with the opening scene being like them meeting at a game show and like in the world of this game show? Like, how does that connect to the story idea for you? How like, oh no, you haven't seen it. I was gonna say The Brood, but like, I'm gonna lend it to you, and you're gonna see. If you're wondering what that clapping is,
I'm trying to catch this fucking fruit fly that's flying in front of my face. I got him. Ha ha!
See, like that would be this completely disparate to the rest of the movie we're about to have tonight. We're like, what does he do? They're like recording a podcast, but it has nothing to do with podcasts or sort of people listening to things or swatting bugs. But it's like, then you try to attach their conversation to the greater meaning of it all, but you can't really. But that's Cronenberg. You can, but this felt like you're setting wise and just sort of being thrown into the middle of it. I think that's what I mean, Cronenberg-y. But this was just like, what?
Yeah, like is it commentary somehow? And if it is, on what?
About like, what does it have to do with
Like
Siamese twins or psychotherapy or hypnosis? About spying on blind women in a game show? I mean, it felt very satirical.
Sure, yeah, and I like that. I mean, it sort of felt similar to Requiem for a Dream's opening with the game show stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. But that pays off.
Yeah.
Hard. So with this...
Why did they meet at a game show, Tim?
So is it just to establish that she's an actress?
That she's actually an actress, and they were just like, well, what would she be acting in? And came up with that.
And like, how can she meet somebody that she doesn't know?
How do we trust? I mean, it does work. Like, we trust him because he went with the option of not oogling her.
It may just be that they were like, we need a good way to introduce these characters and get some good, solid, like, character defining things accomplished quickly.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, it's pretty effective.
But I mean, usually it's like you keep picking settings and just things until you're like, oh, this makes sense for the movie.
They got him the knives.
Right? Yeah, it technically answers all these questions.
I know, but it's super random.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I think it is just random. I think they just landed on this thing and they're like, oh shit.
I don't know, this makes me want to hear the commentary or do some digging. And then so the ending too of the detective guy on the phone pole, the private investigator on the phone pole looking at the couch. Just something about that moment too just felt a little...
That seemed very... Like, why? Where's the rest of that movie?
Yeah. Again,
also,
I'm mentioning this.
Why didn't he just go up to it?
Right.
And like open it up?
That's what's confusing. So I'm not, this sounds like this, we still may be in our next section, what did not work, but no, this is more.
It didn't not work. It left me going,
I just I talked about the whole thing was like, this feels like the movie where I was most unprepared and didn't get something. Maybe that's specifically the purpose of the beginning and ending of this film, Tim, is to get you feel a little off kilter.
Canada.
Yep.
That's the point.
Canada. So I did watch Jennifer Salt, who's, the actual main character, it feels like, Grace. She did a recent interview in 2018.
Oh, because she was on American Horror Story?
No, it was that's October 2018 is when the Criterion edition of this film was released. So she did an interview for it. Things I learned. Since they were a low budget shoot, they were non-union and they were picketed by Teamsters in Staten Island when they were filming.
I bet
and
they were.
And she said it was very scary for a while, but then they went away. The woman who played her mother was her real mother.
Wow.
And she said that was like them riffing on their actual relationship. Surprise, surprise. That's her mother giving her, hounding on her for not being married. And then even to the extent of like, oh, are you still on your diet pills, like on amphetamines or whatever, she said that was all.
And probably thought of her
life.
acting career as just a side hobby, and when's she going to have a real career?
Right. So cathartic, I hope a bit that she's, a part of this film.
Either that or just a wedge. Just just jamming that wedge between them even further.
And then we talked about that actor, William Bill Finley, earlier, who I said Roger Ebert said looked like a Cold War spy extraterrestrial. Yeah. And you were like super nins. She said that he was kind of almost a muse for Brian, where he was just like immensely just enamored or entertained, but just like kind of had a curiosity towards him, like liked his whatever he was doing. And she said that this guy Bill Finley was pretty intense on set.
I'm pretty shocked.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so shocked.
So there you go, confirmation. And the only last thing that I had was the scene at the end when she's denying knowing anything. She's been hypnotized. We talked about it. That main last horrific scene. She's changed forever. There was an entire row of Ringo Starr pictures from A Hard Day's Night.
Yeah, what? She loves Ringo.
Yeah, it's great. And like pretty clearly in there too. But it was just kind of funny to see that in such a serious end scene. I don't know. It made it feel very lived in, for sure.
Well, it also, I think putting that scene in obviously her childhood bedroom and having the mom right there is this like... It's actually even more upsetting in a way.
Yeah.
It's like the mom kind of got what she wanted, which is like her baby back.
Well, I'm a big Beatles guy, so I just had to mention seeing all those Ringo faces.
Cool. I don't really have anything of note. We've kind of touched on all of them just throughout. So the one thing I will say is the movie I was thinking of is Spellbound. That's the one that Dolly did the sort of dream sequence with. I think he was directly involved.
Dolly?
Salvador Dali.
Oh.
Not Dolly Dearest. Spellbound. Yeah, Dali. It's cool. It doesn't matter. It's Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman. But okay. Marnie is awesome. Watch Marnie. And the other thing I was going to say is that Geraldo expose thing happened in 1962. So who knows how much that played a role in the sort of development or execution of this, since it's essentially the same year. Mm-hmm. / maybe after this was filmed. So
Great. Should we put a bow on this film then?
Yeah.
All right. So next we move on to our RecommenDEADtions.
Okay, so I have a real one, but definitely see Marnie and definitely watch that Geraldo thing because that thing is
pushing your luck here,
good.
Tim. You're recommending a lot of things. But you can only recommend one thing.
Okay, my real one is season 2 of The Sinner. I mean, season 1 of The Sinner. The show The Sinner is so fucking good.
Never heard of it.
Bro, it is so good. It's so good.
What is it?
It's a USA show, USA Network show.
All right, Coach.
That's right. No, it's on Netflix now, season 1 and 2. So season 2 just came out on Netflix. But season 1 is amazing. Bill Pullman is like the main guy.
Okay.
It's so fucked up. He's a detective. It's awesome. It's super fucked up. I don't want to say anything else.
Cool.
Watch it if you haven't, because it's fucking great.
All right. Mine is, I think there's room for this film. People go on the great year of 1999 for film. You haven't heard that?
The Matrix.
It's like, yeah, no, you've never heard that talked about though? There's like a book written on it now. It's like always been a thing these last 10 years, people talk about.
I don't know. No.
There's lots of great films in there.
I believe it.
Okay. Well, there's
Fight
one.
Club.
Yeah, exactly. You can. So now the one that I haven't heard.
I was in college.
All right.
The prequels of Star Wars started then too. That was horrible.
I'd say that one. But the one that I think I haven't seen get a lot of acclaim that I think is due for some new appreciation is Man on the Moon, about Andy Kaufman starring Jim Carrey. I think it was pretty easy to write off as just another biopic in the slew of biopics. But it takes on there's an extra Kaufman-esque level going on there in some regard, where there is an awareness of it being a biopic.
Do you mean a Charlie Kaufman or an Andy Kaufman?
Andy Kaufman. What, did I say Charlie?
No, but it does, in a weird way, it has a Charlie Kaufman-esque kind of thing going on too.
Well, yeah, similar, similar Kaufmans
coincidence
in that sense.
Yeah.
But it's, I don't know. And it's seeing Andy Kaufman and Jim Carrey does a great job, but getting to sort of feel like you're being privy to these moments of people learning about him or people discovering him for the first time, and Andy's shticks working on people for the first time. There's just something that strikes a chord with me where it's just my favorite thing, Tim, like to see, I don't know, people having to push up against whatever it was that represented them, a kind of like nonsense that's not nonsense. It's very sincere. It's sort of just, he's all about getting a reaction no matter what it is, and was sort of the first one to kind of do that in ways that are very near and dear to me. So I don't know, it's something that in recent years I've just sort of started watching yearly. So if it's been a while, and it's there, it's easy to watch, maybe give it a watch. Man on the Moon.
Sweet.
Yeah. Directed by Milos Forman too, so
Milos,
reliable director there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pull from
my turn.
This their hat. Oh.
Demon House 2018.
Yes. Sounds awesome.
Oh, actually, let's check to see.
Let's
if I can
look.
Watch it right now.
Prime. Demon House.
All right. Cool.
Cool poster.
Oh my God. Wait. Okay. I just read something. Don't read anymore. Don't read it.
I'm just looking at how long it is.
Okay.
1 hour, 51 minutes.
Great.
I closed it.
All right. So join us next time, everyone, for Demon House.
Yeah.
And until then, you could find us at dismemberinghorror.com. That's the universe we reside in.
That's right. And dismemberinghorror@gmail.com
is where you can email us any suggestions, or you could Twitter at us.
Dishorrorpod.
Which just sounds so clear and easy. What?
Obviously.
No. DIS horror pod with a little sign in front of it. And then we got our Instagram. We post weekly on there.
Mm-hmm.
a few times a week. And that's just at Dismembering Horror.
Sure is.
Well, in closing, everyone, thank you for joining us.
And we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.